Hi, my name is Kathryn Mullin, and I am a freelance journalist for my community newspaper, and I also work for Monroe County Library System as a freelance videographer. And what I want to talk to you today is how you can tell your own stories by using audio, video, and photography. And these digital mediums that we use in the 21st century have really become a part of our everyday lives. And they have become a part of my life as a journalist. And what I want to show you in this is that stories have really become a part of our lives, really. I mean, we tell stories when we are with our friends, with our coworkers, and in presentations like these. Stories they cement concepts, they apply meaning to our lives, and they give us a sense of worth and meaning of who we are as a people. And one of the ways of how we can tell stories in the 21st century is through digital mediums. And I'm sure you've seen and heard through Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube that many of these stories can be communicated on there. Really, and what I want to show you is I want to show you through video and how this can be a part of your everyday life in telling your story. First of all, through using video, one of the things we want to do is look to see what would be appropriate in using video. For example, let's say you have a great grandmother who loves collecting antiques, and she has collected them over time, and some of them are very old and worth a lot of money. So one of the ways of how we can capture her story through video is looking at the scenes first. So when you go to great-grandma's house, you can look and see what could be filmed, what could we actually do through our video cameras. This right here, what I have is a video camera and a digital SLR camera. It has followed me on a lot of my journalism assignments. And so anyways, I want to get back on the topic and video. So one of the ways of how we can pick out our scenes is just by going around and getting aware of our surroundings. So let's say, for example, you have your great-grandmother has an antique rocking chair and a teddy bear that is just sitting down on the rocking chair. And so what do we want to do is actually grab our video cameras and focus in on that scene for maybe about 5 to 7 seconds. You could also focus in about 2 to 3 seconds, depending on the type of video that you're going to produce. Also, one of the ways of how we can make our video stories better is by getting different perspectives. One of the ways of how we can do this is getting close-up, medium, and overall shots. I'll talk to you about close-up shots, and close-ups are basically shots that are close-up. Let's say this video camera right here, we want to get a picture of this, and this would be an example of a close-up shot, like right here with the lens right here. And so let's say you want to get a close-up shot of that teddy bear in the rocking chair. So we get a close-up shot of the teddy bear's face. And we can also maybe get a close-up shot of the rocking chair, like the rungs on the rocking chair. Next, we would want a medium shot. And this is usually, you have 1 or 2 people in the picture, and it's kind of a transition between a close-up and a distant or far away shot. So let's say, for example, we could focus in on the teddy bear and the rocking chair together. That would be an example of a medium shot. Also, we would want to have overall shots. And overall shots cover the overall picture. So, perhaps we would want to have an overall shot in Grandma's attic, living room, or dining room, wherever the antiques are. That would be an example of an overall shot. After we're done with filming our objects in great-grandmother's house, we could interview her and ask her about those antiques and where she got them and how did she acquire them, and what is the history behind it? What is the story behind it? And so great-grandmother hopefully will comply and answer that, but it would be great to get a voiceover in the background. And this is the reason why you are filming those objects, is to get a voiceover in the background and grandmother talking about them. I also want to introduce to you about the 5-shot method, and this is introduced by Mindy McAdams, and she is she is a well-known journalist, and she has these suggestions for taking video. One of the ways of how we can shoot better video in our stories is getting a close-up, an extreme close-up of the action. For example, if you went to a street market, you could get an extreme close-up shot of someone actually picking the produce or the vegetables. That'd be an example of that. Next, you would want to have a face shot. So you could get a shot of the person picking the fruits and vegetables with a close-up shot of their face. That'd be great. Then we would want to have a medium shot, which could be the face and the action together. We would also want a shot maybe from behind. A shot from behind. It could be close-up or distant. This would provide a great perspective in your story. And the 5th shot of what can make a great story is getting a creative shot of your own. For example, you could go up high, up down low, and get a video of the feet that are moving. This would be great for just to get a shot of your story. And again, we want to have different perspectives: close-ups, medium, and overall shots. These are the keys to telling great stories through video. Next, I want to draw us closer to audio. And audio, you're probably thinking, well, how can I tell a story through audio? And it's really just a bunch of sounds and noises. But I have to tell you that audio is a great way in telling a story. Because hearing someone's voice gives us a sense of place. It actually transports us into that situation and that person's perspective. For example, if you listen to I'm sure many of you have listened to National Public Radio and have heard a driveway moment on there, and these are actually long form stories that air every week or almost every week, and they really provide a sense of who you are, and they really give you another perspective in someone's life, and you really feel like you're actually in it. You're in the story, and so that's the purpose of audio, and we can tell great stories through these in our everyday lives. First, we would want to identify what would be a great story for audio. Let's say I want to capture a story to capture an audio story through ballroom dancing, and I want to get some different perspectives on this. So how I would go about that is interviewing the ballroom dancers and asking questions such as how do you dance, and how how does this happen? How does this occur? And what can you tell me about the different moves of ballroom dancing? These are great questions to ask in audio because it gives us a certain depth and dimension to the story. What's strongly discouraged in a lot of audio stories is asking yes or no questions. Like, was that a good day? Or did you buy this or not? These are examples of yes or no questions, and they really don't add to the story. We want to dig deep. That is the purpose and the meaning of everything, is to dig deeper. And you often have to have a curious heart and mind for that. I actually got introduced to audio last summer when I was an intern at WGTE Public Media in Toledo. One of the ways of how I captured different stories through audio was I went to different ethnic events all around Toledo and Southeast Michigan. One of them was a Polish festival, and I actually had an opportunity to interview the winners of a Polish polka competition. So I got their perspectives and what did they think, and and some introductions about polka and what it is to give our listeners some perspective on it. I also captured natural sounds, and this is a really big component of producing your own audio stories is natural sound. And one of the ways of how I did this was I got my audio recorder right here, and actually I had a much more high-tech audio recorder than this, but I've carried this one on a lot of assignments. And make sure you have a really good audio recorder to do these audio assignments, and you could even use your iPhone as well. Those are all great tools, and they do capture great sound. And so I captured sounds of the polka, the dancers, the music. This really gave some perspective, and I also had the people talking throughout the music. So this is great in just telling a story is through natural sound. If, let's say, you're doing a story about a restaurant that maybe your parents have owned over their lives, and you want to make a story on that, you could get the natural sounds of the dishes clanking, or people walking, or the people waiting to be seated, or to be creative. And there are sounds all around you. It's a matter of having us pay attention to them. When you want to put your audio story online, have the person repeat 2 or 3 questions that you just asked in the interview. Sometimes interviews can be as long as 50, 60, over an hour long, and many people just don't want to listen to it for that long online. So ask the person about 2 or 3 questions, important questions that you would think that people online would like to hear. This is a great way in having your story become more meaningful and succinct. One other medium I want to touch on is photography. And we all pretty much love photography, and we've seen through Instagram, through Facebook, and many photos have really changed our lives. And for example, we have photos from 9/11, and these photos really just capture the emotions within us. They just grip us because of, and they really transport us into the situation just by seeing a picture. It's a picture. It's a frame frozen in time. That's what photography is. And these photos, they capture emotion. We have the firefighters who gave their lives in the 9/11 attacks, and the people who emerged out of the rubble from the Twin Towers. And this has this has really just gripped our emotions. And equally, you can tell a great story through photography. I really encourage you to do that if you haven't. And when I was at World Journalism Institute in May, it's a journalism program for college students, and one of the things I did there was I was on a photo assignment, and I took pictures of different people just going through their everyday lives around town. I took lots of pictures of street musicians, and I took some pictures of a man who was playing chess in a park. I also took a lot of pictures of a woman. She actually called herself the Gold Lady, and she was painted in gold. She had a gold dress and a golden basket, and every time when you put money in her bucket, she would give you a piece of candy. And I was able to capture this through photos, and it told a story. It told a story of the everyday lives of people who make money, or they just want to have fun in the town. So one of the ways of how we can tell good photo stories too is picking a topic that would be appropriate, just like we did in our audio and video stories. Let's say we want to capture a trend or issue. Clowns. Clowns are, some of you may be scared of them, and some of you might think they're entertaining, but they would be a great trend or issue to cover through photos. One of the ways of how we can do this in capturing a great story about clowns is getting a variety of shots. Close-ups, we can get a picture of the clown's red nose, or a close-up of his wig, his colorful wigs. Medium shots, you could get a picture of the clown's face and his face painting, and him doing an action. Or we could get an overall shot, or we can get lots of overall shots, and we can get shots of the clowns performing, or the clowns getting ready to do their performances. We want to also capture sequences in time. Again, we want to capture, it's all about capturing moments, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And oftentimes the best photo stories come at the beginning or the end of your initial assignment. So look out for those moments. Another thing we want to be aware of is lines and color. Capture a lot of color in your photos, because this is what draws and attracts attention, is color. For example, we might want to focus in on the clown's suit, his striped suit, and have a close-up shot of that. Or we could maybe have a close-up shot of his shoes, depending on how unusual they are. So just be aware of the lines and color, and go with it. One of the other things that you will learn in photography is the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is, how I want you to visualize it, is think of what you are seeing right now is a big grid. And think of, lines going straight down and across, horizontal and vertical lines. We want to focus in on having objects and people towards the right or the left side, never in the middle. The reason why is because we want to add perspective and depth to our stories. So, one of the ways of how we can do this is have objects to the right or left side. When you have objects in the middle, it really makes for amateur photography, and it takes away from the scene that's behind. Let's say you want to take pictures of someone by their favorite lake, and so we would want to have that maybe person on the right side, and have the lake towards the background, towards where the middle and the left side is. This makes for a great picture and a great story as well. I want to conclude with something, and before I conclude, is that we can learn from each other's stories and we can create meaning with them. One of the ways of how we can do this is get different perspectives. Close-ups, overall, and medium shots. I want you to also be creative. Be creative in your issues and topics. You could create lots of stories through just your family and friends, but I encourage you to go outside of that and look at the everyday lives and the everyday hobbies of people. And you could tell a story through that. You don't have to be a journalist. So be creative. Go beyond what the TV programs, the radio programs, and the video stories that you have all watched and listened to and read, and go tell more stories. So what are you waiting for? Go.